Hey everyone, DarkDragoon here with Season 2, Episode 33 of my FTB Modpack Let's Play. We are picking up pretty much right where we left off, and we're going to start out by making ourselves a neat little machine from factorization. You can see it here, the router. I'll show you guys what it'll do once we put it together. Pretty simple recipe, just requires an eye of ender, which you saw me make just a second ago, and an ender pearl, and an egg, and some dark iron. Cool. Now while we're here, we're also going to make ourselves a couple of these upgrades for it, and I think we're going to go with bandwidth. You can see that here. I'm going to need a bit more of that blaze powder. And also I think thoroughness, so we're going to need some soul sand, if I can remember where I put that. I want to say right there. So here we go. We got ourselves a couple eggs still, so that should do the trick for our bandwidth upgrade. Okay, and our thoroughness upgrade should be something along these lines. Cool. Alright, so I've done only a little bit of work since last episode, sort of working my way through and thinking out some of the piping system, and right now it's kind of a mess, but it is starting to come together, and I'll show you guys that once we get downstairs. But to start with, I want to put our router right here next to these barrels that I put down. And you can see this has a bit of a UI to it. You can see basically it'll get items and attempt to insert those items into the top sides of the machines and basically into the inventories nearby. So I am thinking we want to put thoroughness, yep, and we should be able to also put bandwidth down, and I'll explain what that does here in a second. So basically what thoroughness does is it will make it so that it always finishes filling one machine before it moves on to the next. Pretty simple. And then we also have bandwidth, which will attempt to move stacks of items at a time. Cool. Now, I'm not entirely remembering if we want to do another one, but I think that'll work for at least for now. Probably going to have to move this chest as well if our router is right here. Technically, we could just fix that problem. We could move the router below the stuff, although I kind of wanted it to be visible. Or we could do this the easier way of just shifting it down a block. That'll work. Okay, and our things popped out as well. So let's just move these barrels down one. We should have plenty of room. There we go. And once again, we'll put our bandwidth and our thoroughness in there. Cool. And we want it into top sides. Cool. So everything should be set. Awesome. So the reason why I'm putting that there is pretty simple. We want to be able to basically pump out all of the items that we're getting from our bees automatically out of the centrifuge and over here where it can be processed by our router, which is right here. So I'm kind of thinking this might be enough. We'll just run try and decide how best to do this. I think what might be best is basically to run our line straight down and maybe into the ground. That way we can sort of hide it a little bit. So yeah, let's do that. And I'm just going to run some piping, so where's this going to come out at? Right here, basically. So that should do the trick. And then down. It's definitely a lot more piping than we probably need to solve this problem, but as crazy as the piping system is, I kind of want to make it so that at least it looks a little like I've made an attempt to make it look nice. And I don't really want to use facades because while they definitely look good, you actually can fall through them, so it'll be a little weird moving around in here if we don't just actually put it a full block down. So let me, yeah, that there. Just for sake of my own weird aesthetic sense. Do that, and then run it over. One more gold, I think, right here. We could do this all in gold if we really wanted to, but I think that's a little excessive, so. Okay, so this should be all closed up, and then basically, actually, this will probably, I'm trying to sort of think once again while I'm doing something, and I think I'm going to replace this right here with an iron pipe. That way we can just connect this whole line right up into here and it'll work perfectly. So why don't we seem to be out of gold pipes, so I'm gonna have to make a couple more of those. Let me go ahead and make a couple of those and I'll meet you guys back down there. Okay, got myself some golden transport pipes here. I'm going to need also, so because we have this a little bit staggered, this should work beautifully. So let's just run this straight here and then to there. And that should be correct. So basically, we're going to have a wooden pipe attached to our centrifuge here, and that's going to pump out the items, channel it into this iron pipe, and everything will end up going up into this router, which will then proceed to route all that stuff into separate barrels. So cool. So all we really need to do, I believe we should have a spare autarkic gate in here. We're going to need a wooden pipe. Our inventory is a tragic mess at the moment. Trying to figure out what we can do about that, at least for the time being, to try to fix it just a tad. Grab ourselves an autarkic gate. Cool. We should be good to go. We should be about set up in here. The reason why I'm going to all this trouble is that I definitely want to move into some of the fun little machines from Extra Bees, and if we already have this infrastructure in place, it'll just make our lives a lot easier once we're ready to start doing that. So slap that on there. And energy pulsar, and stuff should start coming out of our centrifuge any second now. Yep, there it goes. Might want to move our golden pipe down one because I think it's getting a weird redstone signal going on, so let's just fix that with throwing beeswax all over the ground. With that should do it. There we go. Yeah. Basically this one is just funky. So everything should be going up into our router, which should then, I think there's going to be a little bit of a problem, maybe not. Let's see what happens. Right now it seems to be putting all of the beeswax into one barrel. That is good. Okay, this will take a little while to sort of heat up, as these autarkic gates aren't really fast to start with. So I'll be back as soon as it's done pumping beeswax, and hopefully it'll do this properly. Alright, so as you guys can see, stuff is flowing in here nicely. However, if I pop these out, you guys should see a small hitch in the way this works. There you go. You can see it's not actually putting stuff into the nearest inventory. It's just sort of sending it all over the place unless all of these are full. So yeah, so I pretty much just threw some cobble in there to sort of create a buffer, and of course as we get more items, more different kinds of items in here, we can obviously expand the system and do more stuff with it. So it's still processing. It's going to take a little while to finish because, like I said, it's pretty slow. But yeah, I like it. It's working pretty well. So that done, we need to address a growing problem. If you can see, we have almost an entire diamond chest here full of bees, and a gold chest here that is pretty much full of bees, and that is a problem. So there's a couple potential solutions for this, and I want to explore a couple of them to see which ones probably are the best. So I'm going to sort of take some time fiddling around with this area and figure out exactly which one I think would work best, and then when I've got that figured out, I'll be back. Alright, real quick, I'm going to be making myself new types of frames, soul frames. There we go, 3 should do the trick. Mostly because, like I said, all this is automatic stuff that's just sort of going and making bee products. But over here is where I'm sort of trying to do some mutating of my bees and trying to get new types of bees, because we're definitely going to need to keep working our way up while this whole thing is going, and to be able to make full use out of sort of what I'm going to be working on next. So there you go, a couple soul frames. I'm thinking I might probably make maybe 2 more apiaries. Let's see. Do we have... yeah, we have the stuff. Why don't we go ahead and make a couple more. We'll make 4 total. And yeah, and so we'll use these 4 over here to basically control our bee mutations and sort of do some manual breeding just to try to get some different stuff. So yeah, so I'm going to make some more soul frames, and when I come back, we'll get on to trying to hopefully finish up the system in here. Alright, here I am making myself another beealizer, and find out why here in a second once this thing is going. Actually, I've also made myself a squeezer, and the reason for that is we're going to make ourselves a little machine called an analyzer. So while that beealizer is getting made, I'm going to grab a bit of bronze. Should be 12, should do the trick. And we'll make ourselves another one of these bronze sturdy casings. Cool. Should be something along those lines. And oh, power needs to be on. Derp. But you know what? We'll just use the one that we've been using ourselves. Probably won't really need this beealizer for much longer, but I'm going to grab the honey out of there because I'm actually not sure what happens if we try to use this beealizer like that. Probably would just lose the honey. So there we go. We got ourselves an analyzer. And there we go. The beealizer in here is done. I'll just put that there, clear out the recipe, and switch you off. So let's run and get this stuff set up. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to set up this analyzer, and the whole purpose of this machine is basically, it does the exact same thing that the beealizer does, but it does it, it's a machine that'll do it, that we can set up to do automatically for us. So I think our squeezer is going to go here, and I think we'll, well, that's an interesting little bug. Point of note, yeah, don't right-click a facade while you're holding a squeezer. The squeezer vanishes from all existence. Alright, let me go make another one of those. Alright, just to be sure that doesn't happen again, I threw a bit of cobble there. And there we go, squeezer. Yeah, and we're going to put a hopper on top of that. Why? Just because it seems like the thing to do. So now that that's set up, we can break that off. And we're going to want to get power to this thing somehow. This is going to be tricky. Because we have this running up like so. How do we want to do this? Let's first grab our conduits out of here. We're going to need those. So I definitely want, I don't know why I ran all the way up here. I definitely want to run it out of the bottom. Yes, going to want to run the power through the bottom. Now what we could do is just run it down and over, but kind of don't like that. Yeah, this is kind of, like I said, this has become pretty much a convoluted mess of wiring. And that's kind of what I get for not having a dedicated way to, of saying, hey, power in this side, and trying to constantly switch it up is kind of a problem, but let's see. Well, let's just start building and we'll see where it takes us. Actually, I know exactly what we'll do. It uses up much more conduits than I'd really like to, but it'll work. And I'm not going to be too picky about it. So we'll just run it down through here and over. We might just have pretty much just enough to do this too. Let's see, where do we put our wrench? And, oops, didn't want to do that. Do that there, and everything should be connected. Like I said, gigantic convoluted mess, but I assure you, it works in the end. So, why am I going to all this trouble? Well, basically what we want this squeezer in here for, and the reason why I'm not automating it is because we've already got all our honey flying over here, and with just the addition of a hopper, we can easily make it so that we can add things as necessary. And I honestly am not... It seemed like the facade was blocking anything from coming through the pipe on this side, even though you can sort of see through it. We'll pretty much just have to see how that goes. So, yeah. So basically, if we take a bit of our honey here, I'm just going to take... that'll do. Where did it go? There it is. Take it in there and put it into our squeezer. You can see it'll rapidly squeeze into a liquid form of honey. Cool. So from there, we can put our... I'm going to probably... We're rapidly kind of running out of room in this place, so this might need to be expanded out at some point here in the near future, but I'm honestly not sure if this can directly... Let's see if it'll directly feed liquid honey. Okay, doesn't look like it will. So, yeah, we're going to definitely need to hook up a bit of liquid piping there. We don't have any in here. So yeah, basically, like I said, this machine is going to automatically analyze our drones for us. And it's night, so let's sleep through that real quick. Okay. So yeah, this thing's going to automatically analyze these bees. And the reason that we're going to do this is actually, well, it'll be made clear pretty soon. So let's just put that there. Problem is kind of annoying. Yeah. Problem is that I didn't really give myself enough room here, because I do need 2 layers of piping for this to work, and I don't like the fact that we're using up all the space for just this stuff. But needless to say, you guys should be able to see that if we grab ourselves a lever and flip this on, like so, we'll get honey flowing out, and that'll flow into the analyzer. So now if I grab one of our bees, doesn't really matter which one, how about this one, and pop them in there, you can see it should run. Yeah, this shouldn't need power. I can't remember if it goes faster if it gets power, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the analyzer doesn't require it. Obviously it is running, so there we go. Cool. So yeah, the facade does... Yeah, this is going to be a problem. Okay, I'm pretty much going to have to... That's where I put our squeezer. That's funny. Okay, anyway. I'm going to have to dig this all out and rearrange stuff, so I'll be back. Alright, so, solution, your name is Diamond Pipe. And that's not what I wanted to do. So, basically what I did was I told it only honey could go in the green side. Realistically, honey shouldn't be showing up through here, but you never know, just in case it does. It's the only thing that can go there. And if honey doesn't show up, then that's okay too, because then that sort of acts as that nothing but honey can go there. So cool. So all that should end up going the right way. Oh, look at the inventory mess. It's insane, I know. So, yeah, and I also went ahead and just removed the hopper because it's not really going to be needed. It's not really necessary for that after all. Realistically, it's probably not even necessary here, but I kind of like it there just for the aesthetic, and it sort of gives of course things flying around, gives me a good idea of how things are set up, just in case they try to, just in case we start getting a lot of materials, then, we'll be able to handle it. So there we go. We got a squeezer. It should be set up where nothing's going to try to go into it. And we're going to put honey into it. And that honey will get transferred over here to the analyzer, which will analyze the bees and turn them obviously into, fully with full information. We can see slow workers, short life, yada yada yada. Okay. So now all we need to do is probably put a hopper on this one, because we already have a line that is controlling our bees. All of our excess bees are going down this path. So basically what we can do is just sort of temporarily circumvent this to go up into it. And this, of course, is going to be kind of tricky to set up properly, because these Buildcraft pipes they don't particularly like to play nice with each other a lot of times. So, let's see here. This is, of course, me thinking. Think. Where are our stone transport pipes? I usually think better when I'm just slapping things down and seeing what happens. So yeah, if we try to run this straight down, it's literally just going to connect there, and we don't want it to. So we're going to have to be a little bit clever with it. So let's see. We want... Again, this is going to get a little bit messy because, actually, let's just run it like this. This is a much better idea. I like this idea much better. There we go. Cool. And then from there, we can just set up a wooden pipe on the bottom of the analyzer, and that should be able to pump the bees out of it and basically connect that up to this line right here. So that shouldn't be too difficult. We can do that with a bit of wooden pipe, which we don't have at the moment, and a bit of cobble pipe. That way, none of this will connect. So we can just do this, and then put a wood pipe here, and probably want to put another cobble pipe there, followed immediately by a gold pipe. That way, everything is working. You can see the bees are going to come up, go into the hopper, be analyzed, and then they're going to come out, fully analyzed, and go over there. Gigantic mess of pipes, but I assure you, I think it will work. And we're going to need to get ourselves another autarkic gate, which I'm pretty sure I lucked out making just enough. And of course, our pipes are all over the place. I think once we're done with this, yeah, I'm going to definitely do some rearranging of inventory and making a little bit less of a mess. Leave it to me to make a gigantic mess of everything. I guess it's just in my nature. I can't help it. So wooden pipe, autarkic gate, go. So we should just be able to hook that up there. Autarkic gate there. And energy pulse. And bees should start coming out. Hopefully. Hopefully just the bees. Yep. There they go. And this analyzer doesn't run particularly fast, but by putting A, this has a buffer on it, and B, by putting a buffer of a hopper on there, we should be able to extend the should be able to give this plenty of time to process whatever it's doing. And you can see all our bees are going over there, and everything that ends up in this chest at this point should be analyzed. So we can see all of this stuff pretty much past this point is analyzed. So probably what will end up happening is I probably won't bother analyzing all this stuff because frankly it's all garbage as is, and we are going to have a way of handling that shortly. So look at this mess we made. Gigantic mess. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time off camera tidying all this up, and when I get back we'll talk about what we can do with all of these bees in here. Alright, so we're probably getting pretty close to the point where we need to call this episode, but before we do, I want to build that machine I was talking about from Extra Bees, the gene pool. And to do that, we're going to need to basically work our way up. It's sort of a higher tier machine, but it's going to be very useful, particularly now that bees are actually piling up in our chest so much that they're popping out when they get there. So yeah, this will help us deal with that little tiny problem. So we'll just take this APRS machine and basically upgrade it a few times into a genetic machine, and then finally into a gene pool, which you can see the recipe there, and I'm just gonna do that. Cool. So that should be something like this. Glass on top, gold, and a bit of redstone will give us a gene pool. Very cool. So yeah, let's sleep through the night before we go back out there. And we'll head over there. Now, pretty sure... Whoop. Zombie, out. We don't have any arrows. Of course, I didn't see my sword on the bar, so... Alright, before I die, let's stop starving. Check our canvas bag here. I think we used up all of our redstone energy conduits. That's not good. Well, that'll probably have to wait, so let's just get this thing hooked up, and yeah, I'll explain a little bit about what it does. Like you guys can see, diamond chest full of bees, and they're still coming. So you can see I've actually tidied up a little bit down here, and I've sort of got some things in mind. So basically what we're just going to do is slap down this gene pool, and you can see it's got a inventory here. It does require some buildcraft power. I'm pretty sure we should have access to some. Of course, everything is... I'm completely unprepared. I need to charge this stuff up. Let me go ahead and charge up my things, get some more energy conduits made, and then we'll hook this thing up and I'll show it to you guys right before we wrap up. Alright, so here we go. Got myself a good amount of these redstone energy cells. And yeah, so we're just going to pop back here and supply this with some power. And you can see 100% charged. Very nice. It doesn't actually use too much, but it definitely holds a nice buffer, and that's good. So the other thing we can realistically go ahead and do is basically just modify this so it's no longer going over here to this chest, but instead going right over here. And I'm thinking we do this. And then we could put a hopper right here, which of course I don't have, but is easy enough to make. I should have all the stuff to do it here too. So I'm gonna need a bit of wood. Apparently we don't have all the stuff. But at least this part is nice and easy. Doesn't take much effort at all. Look at all these flowers around here. This is from all the bees flying around doing their bee thing. So, and we luckily have some cobble on us. There we go. So, and we'll need a bit more wood for chests. There we go. Pretty simple. Made quite a few of these, so. And hopper. Cool. So, put this here, and the bees should stop going this way, start going into our cool new machine. You got one coming? Might have one coming along here. We do, in fact. So, into the hopper, and into the gene pool, and there it goes. You can see it's already been analyzed at this point, and it's going, breaking down the DNA into liquid DNA. Very cool. So yeah, so that is where we're going to pick it up next episode. I'm going to basically try to get this, we're going to build out a nice big tank to store all this in, and once that's done, we should be able to at least be done with sort of our bees for the time being. Between now and next episode, what I'll probably do is process some of the bees that are sort of piled up. You can see this is going to fill up pretty fast. But yeah, so hopefully next episode a bunch of these bees will be cleared out of here, and yeah, we'll be able to move on to some more cool stuff. So until then, this has been Season 2, Episode 33 of DarkDragoon's Feed the Beast Mod Pack Let's Play. Hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll catch you guys later.